Hi, I'm Amber Bowles.
And I'm Megan, and we are realtors. And we wanted to make a video about how to become a real estate agent, what you might not know, what our suggestions are, hopefully help you guys if you are considering this career path. And we've both now been in the top 20% of our firm, which is awesome.
Yeah, we both jumped into real estate, really different places. Mm-hmm. I think you looked into it for a little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it, then I decided to do it, and we both really loved it.
Yeah, so I kind of just jumped into it. I was in college, a business and marketing major, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I didn't have a job lined up right after college. My last quarter, I signed up for real estate classes, got my license, and then jumped into it.
My husband and I had just sold our plumbing business and moved back to our hometown. And our real estate agent said I would be a really great assistant, but she didn't have a job available for me. And then she said, "You should be a real estate agent." I said, "No way." And then I said, "Okay," and signed up for the classes. So I did the ROCKWELL courses, which came with the 90 hours of clock hours that you need to do. And I purchased the books as well because I liked watching the videos online. Everything is online, and you take your 90 hours and listen to this horrible robot voice. But then I had the books. Yours didn't sound like that. Mine was like an 80s robot voice. Classes were really in depth, and then it came with a book so I could highlight and take notes. And then lots of test prep, which I felt like was really the important part. So my classes cost $500.
Okay, I didn't go through that one, so I don't know personally, but from what I hear, everyone recommends doing that one. It is more on the pricey side.
Yeah.
I went with the cheapest one that I could find, which was Real Estate Express. And I mean, you got what you paid for. There were like spelling errors and everything in there, so it wasn't a super quality course, but it got the job done. I passed the test on the first tries. Mine was, I think it was about $220. It was all online. I also purchased a book called The Guide to Passing the AMP, which was, I think it was about $40 at the time, and it was a lifesaver.
Really?
Yeah. All of the questions in there are pretty much exactly the same as the ones that are on the actual real estate licensing exam. So as long as you knew those questions and you could pass that test, then you're good to go for the real estate exam. So I recommend that to everyone.
I had that kind of stuff came with my ROCKWELL.
Okay. Yeah.
They have 10 different tests you can take, and all of those questions, the exact same phrases, were the ones that were on the test.
Okay, yeah, so you're prepared to go. It took me a couple months to complete the 90 hours of classes. I did it while I was going to college and taking college classes too. I know we have an agent in this office who did it in 2 weeks, which is like a record amount of time. But you can pretty much do it at your own pace. So if you're doing it while you're working at another job, or if you don't have a job yet and you just bust it all out, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
I took about 6 weeks to get mine done, but I was only doing a couple hours a day because I had kids at home and still had mom stuff to do. So it was good. It wasn't too bad. I mean, it's 90 hours, so divided into 2 sections, 60 hours of fundamentals and then 30 hours of practice. Once that's done, you take your test, which is not too bad. You go in and take your test. I don't know when you took it, but when I did it, a bunch of electricians were taking it, and they can take their notes and their books in.
Cheaters.
Real estate agents cannot do that. They take your pencils and everything. And then you do fingerprinting and background check, and then you choose a brokerage.
Yeah.
Which you're required to do in Washington State.
You are. Hey Kevin.
What's up?
Hey. In Washington State, at least you have to make sure that you're signed on with a brokerage so you can hang your license at a brokerage. You have to be in the business for a couple years before you can actually create your own brokerage. So you do that, and then you interview with a couple different offices if you want. It's pretty easy. It's kind of like, I like it because it's a reverse interview, or the agencies aren't interviewing you, you're interviewing the agencies to see which one you want to work with. And then ultimately you just pick whichever one you want to work with. So it's fun.
You have to stay forever. Like if you hadn't been happy here at our office, which we both worked for Keller, we could have gone anywhere. There's a couple things neither of us knew or didn't really piece together as we were getting ready to be agent. I knew it was a business, and I knew that I was going to be self-employed. And I knew about being self-employed because I was self-employed previously,
Mhm.
but did you know everything that was going to entail?
You know, I just kind of went into it completely blind. Like, I just signed up for the class on a whim. Like, one day I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Got out my debit card, signed up for the class, and was like, all right, I'm in this, so I'm not turning back now.
That's
So I
funny.
went in with zero expectations at all, not really knowing anything at all. I didn't even interview other agents to see if it was something that I would want to do. I just jumped into it.
You just jumped into it.
So I had zero expectations.
So you did not know you were going to be self-employed and you would have to put away your taxes and do all of that kind of stuff.
Exactly. I figured that out, but you are self-employed. That's a big one, and kind of going along with that, there's no benefits, and
Yeah.
there's no retirement plan, there's no 401k or anything like that. You have to put away, you have to save money from each commission for your taxes because it's not automatically taken out. You are your own boss, so there's nobody telling you what to do. You do work under a brokerage, and there's very minimal rules.
It may depend on your brokerage though. Ours is
Yeah.
pretty much like show up or don't, make
Yeah,
money or
do
don't,
what you
it's your
want.
decision.
No dress code, nobody's telling you what to do, which is good and bad because if you're very self-motivated and very organized, that works for you, but if you're someone that needs a lot of direction and accountability, then it's going to be really hard, at least to start out, to get going.
You have to be willing to learn. You have to do that
Yes.
90 hours, which you think like, okay, I know a bunch of stuff. You have no idea.
The real estate class, honestly, is very irrelevant to what you actually do as a real estate agent.
I feel like there's maybe 2 times in the last 2 years that I thought, oh, I learned that in my 90 hours.
The real estate class does not tell you how to negotiate a contract. It doesn't tell you how to hold a deal together. It doesn't tell you how to go get clients, which is the most important thing. It's mostly just memorizing definitions and whatnot. When you're choosing a brokerage, you want to go with one that offers a lot of training. There are some brokerages that are very great brokerages, but they're geared more towards agents who have been in the business for a couple years and they're experienced. So when you're first starting out, choose a brokerage that has a lot of training, that have people that are going to support you and be there for you to help answer any of your questions, because that's going to make a huge difference on whether you succeed or not in the business.
I mean, even 2 years in, both of us take a couple trainings a week through our brokerage.
Yeah.
So
Always
that's
learning.
a huge thing. And the culture of our office has been amazing for us to be able to learn, not just from the teachers, but from other agents that are open to asking questions.
Yeah, because everyone in the office, whether you are starting out day one or you've been here for 20 years, everyone is super helpful, very open and approachable. You can ask anyone a question about anything and they'll help you.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah. So some of the other things we think you might want to think about as you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent is self-starting. Because like we said, there's not somebody saying you need to be here at this time and you need to do these activities. There's lots of suggestions, but every agent makes their day look like what they need it to look like or what they want it to look like. And some successful agents don't get up till 9, some of them get up at 6. It just depends on your personality.
Or 4:30.
Or
if
4:30.
you remember.
Special like that.
Another thing is choose either a mentor or an accountability partner to work with, because then you have someone who you can hold yourself accountable to and make sure that you are hitting your goals. If you say that you're gonna do this many open houses a week, or if you say you're gonna actually show up to the office at 9 a.m. every day, make sure you have someone that you can be accountable to. Otherwise, it's really hard to do what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it's super easy to find excuses or even good excuses. We think 6 months of income in the bank before you transition at least full-time into real
Especially
estate.
if you're going into real estate full-time, because it can take about 6 months before you actually get your first transaction. How long did it take you?
It took me 9 months before I got my first transaction.
Okay.
And that's like when we signed the listing, and then it took another 30 days to close. So it was 10 months from when I started real estate to when I got my first paycheck.
So it took me 4 months to get my first sale, but that was a co-listing, so I was working with another agent to get that one done. So it can take a long time to get your first closing. I think the fastest is that girl that was that did her real estate license in 2 weeks. She had her first closing within 45 days of her being licensed, which is crazy fast.
Yeah,
So,
that's not typical.
Yeah, so you need to have at least 6 months of expenses if you're going at it full time, just to make sure that you, have enough money to get by or have another job along with
Because
it.
it costs to become a real estate agent.
Mhm.
Outside of the classes and the fingerprinting and stuff like that, signing up for the multiple listing service, whatever your office fees are, it cost me about $2,000 to get started as an agent.
Mhm.
And then if I didn't have any income for 10 months, plus you have to pay office fees every month,
Mhm.
That's a big chunk that you'd be putting out
Yeah.
with not having income.
Yeah, so for me, my first full tax year was about 8 months worth, and I spent $4,700 in real estate that year. That included licensing fees, office fees that we had to pay every month, and included signs, which are $100, signposts, which is another $100, a lockbox, which is another $100. So every time you have a
More than
listing,
$100,
they're like 120, I think.
Yeah.
So every time you have a listing, you need signs, signpost, lockbox. So that's
Minimum for one listing.
yeah.
Then
So that's a couple $100 right there. And then if you get another listing, that's another couple $100. So it can get pretty pricey. And then
Pretty quick, yeah.
also open house signs, I spent I think $200 or $300 on those. So I would budget like $5,000 to get started. Your first year. Just make sure that you have everything covered, and even if you don't have a paycheck, you can still have your expenses paid for.
yeah, people are not just going to show up. You can't just hang out at your office all day long and expect buyers and sellers to show up.
Yeah.
There's so much work that takes.
It's a business,
Yeah.
and people aren't just gonna come to you. You're not just gonna sit at your office and your phone's gonna ring. Hey, I want to sell my house. Like
Yeah.
you have to go out there and you have to get the business. You have to build your own business. So,
But-
coming soon, we will talk about how to actually get business and how to lead generate.
Once you have your license,
Yes.
yeah. Rarely do you just hang out at the office and somebody shows up and says, sell my house.
Yeah.
So our office says, you're not a real estate agent, you're a lead generator,
Mhm.
which is depressing
Nobody likes lead
sometimes.
generating.
But
That's the most important part.
That's what you have to do to get business.
Yeah. I'm a very antisocial person, which probably is not the best.
I don't think you're
For-
antisocial. I think you're an introvert.
Yes, definitely introverted. It's a very people-y business, and if you're not a people-y person, doesn't mean you can't succeed. It just means that you're gonna have to either work harder or find different ways to get business in real estate.
You just need to make sure you schedule time to decompress after you've done
Yeah.
all of that big interaction stuff.
Yeah.
You grow into it, even as an introvert.
Mhm.
I don't mind people, but sometimes it gets too people.
It's a very people-y business.
Yeah.
For sure.
So it's unsteady in just about every way.
Pretty much. Until you get a good business model going and you've been in it for a little bit, then it becomes steady. But when
Yeah.
you first start out, not steady at all.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like it was steady because I was coming to the office for certain hours every day.
But then you're not getting a steady paycheck.
No, there's no steady paycheck. There's no guarantee that people are going to work with you, or even if they start working with you, that they'll be able to buy or sell.
So we're 100% commission.
Yeah.
So if we don't sell a house, we don't get paid. Even if we put a house under contract, it can still not close, and if the house doesn't close, then
Still no money. All the work, no money.
there's a lot of rejection in this industry. A lot, which you have to become comfortable with being rejected. So if you're doing open houses, most of the people that come by, are not going to work with you. Either they have an agent, or they're not seriously looking, or
Yeah.
they just don't want to work with you because they don't like you, which is fine.
It's like, and they tell you that to your face. I mean, there's definitely some like lead generating techniques that take that rejection a lot more, like door knocking on people's doors, asking if they know somebody who's buying or selling, or if they want to buy or sell. That's hard because that's like hardcore 2 hours of people saying no thanks.
Yeah.
Or why did you knock on my door?
Or cold calling on the phone, people hanging up on you or just saying no.
Besides lead generating, even like we said, you could have a deal going through and it could fall apart, and so that is a type of rejection. I think that one hurts the most.
I think what hurts the most is when you have a family member who is
Not using you as an agent?
yes.
Yeah, that's me.
When you have a family member or a close friend that just bought a house without you,
Yeah.
and they knew you were an agent, or who just sold their house and they used someone else to sell their house. That hurts, and you can't take it personally.
So, beginning part of the video, we let you know what it takes to become an agent. Some things you might not have expected as a real estate agent, and then some things to consider. Every personality can do it, but you definitely need to be a self-starter.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions for us, if there's something that we didn't cover, if there's something about real estate that you want to know, let us know. Reach out to us.
Bye.